guess, just to start off with and to break the ice and all, easy question. Who is Shomit? In your own words, and what do you do? And yeah, just go ahead with that.
Yeah, so I'm Shamit. Shamit otherwise is known. I'm a footballer. I've been playing professional for about 5 years now. 1 year with FC Edmonton, which is where I'm from, and 4 years with Montreal Impact. Like I said, I'm from Edmonton, Alberta. My family moved to Edmonton about 25 years ago, and so I've
Wow.
been here ever since.
Right. So, were you born? You were born there, weren't you?
No, I was born in Canada actually. I was born in Edmonton. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You were born
Okay.
in Canada, is that awesome?
Yeah, yeah.
So, I guess born into a brown household, right? And
hmm
essentially, you've got the Bangladeshi roots through your parents. With I guess, to meet the stereotypes, obviously, parents really don't want their kids around that generation to really go into anything other than the big three, the doctor, engineer, or the lawyer,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
going into the world of football, what got you into football to start with?
Yeah, I mean, when my parents first moved here, they didn't really know much about sports or anything. They just knew that it was good for their kid to be involved in something. And so
Mm,
soccer was the only sport they kind of knew. They didn't know much about hockey, which is more popular here. So they threw me into soccer. And as I was getting older and older, I was I was pretty good at soccer. And a lot of other families and parents were telling my dad, like, your kid's very good. Like, you should consider putting him into a more serious thing. But in Edmonton, it's not like in England. There wasn't really a lot of resources to become a professional soccer player. But as time went on, more opportunities opened up. But at the same time, my mom and dad were always there saying, make sure you're doing your education at the same time, and all that stuff. Which, when they used to tell me that, I was like, like, I want to play soccer, I want to do this. But when I look back on it, it's very important to do at the same time. And thankfully, I did finish my engineering degree while playing soccer, and I think that's just a positive to have.
Dude, that's insane. I mean, you don't usually hear a lot of pro footballers get a secondary discipline on the same line, and with you studying full time in engineering, of all things, what was it like balancing the two over the years?
Yeah, it was really difficult. I mean, it was challenging, to manage my time because we're so busy with first team football, and then engineering is a very busy degree, a lot of labs to go to, a lot of
Mm,
classes to go to. So a lot of classes I had to miss because of training, because of traveling for games, and so I had to kind of learn that on my own. But that's
mhm,
just a bit of discipline, and at the same time, those are two things that I both really enjoy. I love playing football, obviously,
yeah.
but even engineering, like studying that kind of stuff, is interesting to me. And so I guess that's why I was able to kind of manage both, is because I had an interest in both, where I really wanted to get better and learn both fields. My dad's an engineer, so that kind of motivated me to become an engineer. But it's kind of like what you said, you can never really break the brown stereotype of, you got to go to school, you got to go to school.
Yeah.
And at first I thought I was going to break that stereotype completely and not go to school. But now that I'm done and I think about it, I think about when I'm done playing football, when I'm 35, 40, like, engineering
Yeah.
is something that I want to do. And so it's nice to have that degree if I want to, if I need to.
Did you enjoy it? Like, did you enjoy engineering?
Yeah, I do. I mean, not as much as football, but when football's done, I'm gonna have to enjoy doing something else. I can't just sit at home doing nothing for 30, 40 years. And so hopefully
Yeah.
engineering is going to be that choice, or maybe coaching, but at least I have that
Yeah.
that backup.
Right. And with that, I'm sure comes a lot of discipline, right? I mean, most people struggle to just even take one path. You having to take both. Where did the discipline come from in your case? I mean, I guess obviously your parents would be amazing, if I had to assume, to enforce you into this lifestyle where you build that discipline. But for you on a personal level, what do you do to build that discipline first of all to helps you get on both at the same time?
Yeah, it's a difficult question to answer. I'd say it's more so maybe just um, interest in both of the subjects, obviously, and at the same time, I always push myself to be the best player, best person I can be, regardless of the
Yeah.
situation. And so I think that's where that discipline comes, where I make sure I manage my time so that I can excel at both properly. And that's how I've become a better soccer player, and I think that's how
Yeah.
I've been able to graduate. And that's something that comes from also just like a Bengali culture where your parents discipline you from the beginning. They teach you
Yeah.
how to
Yeah. Yeah.
how to do the right things and whatnot. And so I owe a lot to my parents in that sense. And I definitely learned a lot from them in terms of how to discipline myself and manage
Mm.
manage myself.
And what's the soccer culture like? When you're growing up in Edmonton, was it, were a lot of brown kids playing at the same time? Did you have any other, I guess, the local Bangladeshi, not local, but I guess kids from the Bangladeshi background, coming up the ranks with you, or was it basically you and a sea of other white and other African, European kind of
Yeah,
players?
no, I was probably, the only Bengali in my age kind of generation that was, playing at a good level, playing at a club level. So
Mm,
it was unique in that sense where I was on my own. There were a couple other Indian players, some Punjabi players that were very good that were a couple years older than me. So even for me, it's important to have a kind of role model that looks like you almost, where you can kind of see, hey, this guy looks like me. He's doing this. He's going through the same things I'm going through. So having those
yeah.
like, three or four guys that were older than me that were doing really well, that was kind of, intriguing for me or interesting for me, and kind of motivated me to be like, okay, well, these guys are doing it, I can do it too.
Yeah.
And it's cool because eventually I ended up playing with them in the professional academy at FC Edmonton and whatnot. But yeah, growing up, up until I was 15 or 16, there wasn't really a professional team, a professional academy in Edmonton. So it was more so I was playing soccer just to get a university scholarship to go to the local university here, play varsity soccer, and then get a degree and whatnot. But
Yeah.
as things
Wow.
opened up, as things opened up, the FC Edmonton program opened up, the academy opened up. I managed to get into that. I did well, and then I signed a professional contract, and so the rest is history. But without even that 15 or 16 years of playing soccer, there was never really that goal of being a professional footballer.
Yeah.
But I guess why I got better is just because I pushed myself to be the best I could. And so it didn't matter to me whether there was professional soccer or not. I just want to be the best player I can.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, I know it's not quite Ballon d'Or yet, but I guess just coming out of the ranks within the thing must feel amazing. And I'm sure younger kids, younger Bengali kids now look up to you as a prime
Mm-hmm.
example. I mean, I'm sure other Bengali parents are saying, "Hey, look at Shomi's out here studying and playing soccer at the same time. Why can't you?" So you probably don't have a good rep among young Bengali kids from that end. You being the
Yeah,
prime example.
for sure, man. Like it's cool because it is inspiring for a lot of kids, which is I love. It's great that I can inspire them in that way
Yeah,
because there's not a lot
yeah.
of Bengali role models. But it's funny because I'm almost parents start comparing me to them too much, and then they're like, yo, like you like this is too much, and I'm like, all right,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, this guy, like, this
Yeah,
guy's,
yeah,
yeah. But obviously, this year has been pretty interesting to say the least. And you had your first breakthrough in the national team earlier this year as well, from what I know, in January. And then obviously COVID hit, and it has been quite the same since. From an athletic point of view, from a fitness point of view, how did you maintain the same level of I guess athleticism, or sportsmanship during this quarantine or lockdown period?
yeah. It was really tricky, just because your entire day of is free. So luckily,
Mm,
in the same building I live in Montreal, I had a teammate, my goalkeeper Clement Diop, and so we would actually do our workouts together. We'd probably work out twice a
wow.
day just to stay busy,
Yeah.
because there was nothing else to do really. Other people who have actual jobs who work from home, their job is 9 to 5, so that takes up the
Mm,
majority of the day. Whereas for us now
mm,
without soccer, our day is free. So we kind of
mm.
broke our day into two, where we did a workout in the morning, workout in the afternoon. Nothing crazy, but just a good way to maintain. And we did that
Mm.
for a solid 3 months. It was pretty crazy,
Wow.
but when we came back into it, we both felt pretty fit, which was important.
Awesome. I mean, I guess that's where that discipline that I was talking about comes into play, because you could easily give in to that lifestyle of not doing anything for 3 months and really lose yourself. So I guess that's brilliant. But from the perspective of, again, going back to the stereotype of being in a brown household, you've got biryanis and pulaus and all that kind of stuff, all around you all the time. How do you maintain that nutrition side of things? And I guess more importantly, how much has nutrition or the understanding of nutrition has played a part in your professional career?
Yeah, I didn't really understand much about nutrition up until I moved away from home, into Montreal, where I was kind of cooking on my own, and I was like, okay. It's important to eat properly. And when I look back at what I was eating in Edmonton when I was playing my first professional season, it might not have been the best thing. I was eating, a plate full of biryani the day before the game,
Yeah,
and I didn't really realize how that affected me in the game. But I also didn't feel it because I was younger at this time. But now I'm getting older,
yeah,
you can
yeah.
start to feel these things. But
Mm,
at the same time, you have to have a balance. Like when I moved away in Montreal
of
and I wasn't
course.
cooking too much brown food on my own, I
Mm,
missed it because we grew up on that stuff. So
yeah,
no, it's definitely a part of finding a balance, or just finding healthy ways to eat that kind of food. Putting a little bit
mm,
less oil, a bit less spices. to get that satisfaction of eating, brown food.
Right. And I guess if you had to give one advice to a young Bangladeshi kid looking at this in terms of nutrition, what would it be? Because that's one thing that Bangladeshi struggle with a lot. Obviously, you had because you moved away from home, that I'm sure helped to an extent. In your, I guess, from your perspective, what would you recommend they do if they're kind of stuck in a situation where they're at home, and what would be a tip for young guns out there?
Yeah, I'd say just to be careful. I mean, you can still enjoy those things, those like biryani, pulao, those dishes with a lot of oil and spices. Just make
Yeah.
sure you do it in moderation. I feel like that's where it gets out of hold a lot in general
Mm,
in the brown household, not just with kids, but with everybody. Is they eat too much of it just because it's so good,
yeah.
but
It's
you don't
every day.
necessarily need you don't need to fill yourself up like to the max, which is what I feel like most people
Yeah.
do. Just enjoy it in moderation. Don't go crazy. But make sure you eat less of the beer and the pulao, more of the meat in it, because that's more important.
Yeah.
That's the most important part. And if you do that,
Yeah. Yeah.
even if you're eating brown food, not brown food, it's not crazy.
Yeah, yeah, no, that makes sense. Going more into your specific career right now with at Montreal Impact, obviously Thierry Henry coming in, me growing up, and a lot of the people who watch this, I'm sure, have idolized Thierry Henry as a player, or have really gritted their teeth at him being in the rival kind of thing because he was so good. What was it like having him come in and, but yeah, just an in-depth answer would be good in this case, because for all of us it's kind of like a surreal feeling to see one of your heroes kind of walk into the dressing room, let alone even meet them. So what was it like for you?
Yeah, it was very, very cool. A bit nerve-wracking when you first meet him. He's an intimidating guy. He's a legend of the game. He has
Yeah.
this arrogance about him where he knows, what he's done, which obviously is, deserved. But
Mhm.
obviously once you get to know him, he throws jokes, surrounds the entire locker room. He's a super, super cool guy, super normal guy. He likes to have fun with even, with the guys on the team. Almost like he's a teammate at times, just the way he throws jokes at
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
He would hop in some of our training sessions and do rondos with us, and automatically the quality would get better, just because he demands so much more. And so it was crazy to think, like, when I think of myself as a player, I like to think I demand a lot of myself, but him is just on another level. And I think that's the difference between guys who play in Europe or a legend like him, is just that
Mm.
that another level of demanding. It's kind of like, I don't know if you've seen like those videos of James Milner in rondos with Liverpool.
Yes.
It's
Yep.
kind of
Yep.
the
Yep.
same thing. It's kind of the same thing with a
Yeah.
coach like that with us, where he's the one who's like getting the
Wow.
quality up, and he's the coach and he's
Yeah.
doing that,
Yeah.
which is super
Yeah.
cool. And you could still
Yeah.
see his quality when he did his stuff. He has
Yeah.
volleys, everything, his tricks. But on a footballing side, tactics wise, he's played with some of the greatest managers in the world, Arsene Wenger, Pep Guardiola. His
Of
tactics
course.
were unbelievable. And our
Mm.
Montreal Impact, we might not have had the best roster, the best talent, the
Mhm.
best, stuff like that. But every game we played against whichever team, tactically, he always set us up in a position where we could beat that team, and we always felt like we could beat the team just because the
Wow.
tactics were so perfect. After that, it was up
Yeah.
to us to execute. But we would always lead that game, and honestly, even if we didn't win or whatnot, I would think like, wow, like we could have beat that team easily based on the tactics that they
Yeah.
set up for us. So that's something that I thought was
Wow.
really cool, and for me to learn that and how he thinks about the game was super, super interesting.
Awesome. Any specific memory with him that you can share that kind of pops in your head, if at all?
No,
Like
honestly,
anything fun?
I can't think of one off the top of my head. The only thing I could think of is, when he first came in, obviously it was intimidating. So in a couple training sessions, we kind of had like a technical drill where it was like a challenge where you had to, hit the crossbar 5 times in a row,
Mm.
whatnot. And so this was early on in preseason where it was my turn to do it, and he was just like standing right beside me, like, just like a meter away from me, just staring at me as I'm like doing it, and I'm like shaking. I'm like, oh my god, this guy's watching me. I can't like mess it up. And like the first crossbar I hit, my first try, I hit the
Yeah.
crossbar, and he's like, "Oh, okay." So I'm like, "All right, I'm feeling good." The second one, I shank it, and he's like, "Oh," and then I'm like, and then I'm just all over the place. So then,
He
but
doesn't
it was just
hide it. He
funny.
doesn't hide his
No,
feelings.
he,
Yeah.
he doesn't hide that,
Yeah.
and it's almost like he plays mind games with you, where he's like, he wants to intimidate you to see how you react. He
Right.
almost like tests you to see who you are as a person, your character. So that was a very cool experience for me. Something that I'll treasure for forever, just to be in his presence and learn from him as a coach.
Attack the ball, attack the ball. Shamit, can you pass it one touch? Then why don't you do it?
Have you learned to touch? Like do the one touch pass? I guess that's the question
Oh,
after.
dude, that video! I think I became viral in that video. My Instagram blew up after. It
Oh,
is what it
really?
is. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was crazy. I mean, that's when I realized how big of an influence this guy has. But I learned.
Yeah.
I think I learned. But in a game, it's so much different than what they see, what everybody sees. But
Of course. Of
it's
course. Of
it's
course.
it's just a
Yeah.
funny moment, I guess.
Yeah, no, of course, and I think especially when you focus on a manager or a ref or I guess even the captain of a team, you only without fans, it's just it feels very intimidating. I think for people who aren't part of that ecosystem, who haven't played professionally, this might seem like this is like he's being like supercharged and stuff like that over the top. But I'm sure it's probably just another day, for him and for you.
Yeah, 100%. But I'll tell you something that's interesting for most footballers too is that there's sometimes a little bit of beauty with playing with fans also. Yeah, obviously, they
Mm.
add to the atmosphere, but it's also that when you're playing, you can't always hear the coach screaming at you. Because the coach is always like that in games, obviously.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But sometimes when there's fans, you can't really hear that. So you're more like, okay, I don't have to worry about what he's screaming at me, which is funny.
right. Um, over the years, though, what has been, I guess, the most difficult part of being a professional footballer?
Hmm. I'd say it's consistency. You can show up one day of training, have a great training session, and you're feeling good. But can you do it the next day? Can you do it the next week? Can you do it the next
Yeah.
month? And so
Mm.
that's what I've noticed for myself personally is like I kind of go through roller coasters where a month or for a month I'd be playing so well, doing great. But then if I'm not playing a lot, or if I'm playing in games and I'm not doing well, then the confidence goes down, and then I start training a bit bad for a couple weeks, whatnot. And then just to get out of that groove again, just to have confidence in yourself to excel
Yeah.
again. So definitely that is being consistent and just having confidence and that belief every day, every week, every month, for the entire year. Because I think confidence in yourself is the most important thing to become
Mm.
a professional footballer.
And how do you pick yourself up from those, those little troughs or I guess the dips that you have on, like you said, weeks or months when you don't feel that same level of confidence? How do you pick yourself up on a mental
Yeah,
level?
yeah. It's almost like for me, it's like I try to disconnect myself from the game a bit more. Like for a couple of days, even while I'm training, like after training, I try to disconnect from soccer in general. Not Don't watch it, don't think about it. Just kind of clear my mind a little bit, so that when I come back again in a couple of days to get myself set, I'm focused on what I need to do, and which is being more confident, being more aggressive, and making sure I'm performing better. And so that's what I'd say is what I do.
Fair enough. And I guess being a modern day footballer, obviously, with your Instagram and Facebook and all that kind of stuff, there is that level of fans being louder than usual. Back in the days, it was just stands, but these days they're literally on every single comment and shares and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, I know that it's probably not the same level of, I guess, criticism that many other European players get on the highest level, but what's it like, I guess, being on display and tackling that on a mental level? Like, do you think about it? Do you completely turn it out? Like, what's your personal take on that?
Yeah, I think you think about it at times. I think when you think about it more so if you have like a terrible game and then you think, okay, like obviously fans are disappointed, whatnot, stuff like that.
Yeah,
But I never really try to look into that. That's part of the game. Fans are emotional. They care about their club. So if you don't play well, it makes sense that they're
yeah,
disappointed or angry. But yeah,
mm,
it's definitely not to focus on that because if you focus on that as a player, that'll probably drag you down a bit mentally and whatnot. But that's
mm,
why the key is to not really focus on that. It's part of the game. Yeah, you have good games, you have bad games, and it's just something that
yeah.
happens.
Right. What was it like getting a call for Canada?
Yeah, that was amazing for me. Um, a big reason why I decided to become a professional footballer was actually
Yeah.
to play for the national team because my first
Wow.
experience of like high level football was before playing professional was playing for the U20 national team.
Hmm.
And that's where we played. I guess my first camp was like Ukraine, France, Uruguay, and so I went there in my first camp, and I did really well compared to a lot of
Yeah.
veteran guys, and that really motivated me to become a professional footballer. So getting that call up with the senior team was amazing. The year before that, I actually got called up to the Gold Cup in January or in June-ish,
Yep.
but I said no because I just started playing with my club a lot, and so I wanted to have that consistency with my club before
Wow.
accepting a call up, and then maybe losing my spot with the Montreal Impact.
Wow.
So that's something I kind of regretted too, because a Gold Cup is a huge opportunity in North America.
Yeah.
But then getting that call up in January was really rewarding and shows that it paid off by not maybe accepting it then. It paid off by accepting it in January and going in January to play.
Do you end up training with Alfonso Davis?
I don't think he was at that camp, but I've
Okay, it
played
was
with
a different
Alfonso
one.
Davies. Yeah, I've played with him a lot with the youth national teams.
Yeah.
He's a guy from Edmonton, so I know him pretty well. But it's
Exactly.
definitely amazing to see what he's
Yeah.
doing. He's
Yeah.
he's a star.
He's killing it. Yeah, and what's it like, I guess, playing against him or with him, back in the days, or, I guess any of your memories with him?
Yeah, I mean, back in the days, obviously, at Edmonton, he was a bit younger than us. But there's times where he would train with our academy at times, and you could tell that he was going to be a special player. Just his athletic prowess at that age, his technical ability at that time, was out of this world. But then, even with the national team and whatnot, you could see that there's a lot of potential that he could be a very good player. He's just so athletic,
Yeah.
so fast, so quick. And I think now that he's with Bayern, his technical level of football has really gone to another notch. And I think that's what's
Mm,
making the difference, where he's showing a lot of quality.
right. And, playing almost regular basis at the MLS, are there any specific players that you personally, look up to, or anyone that I guess anyone that's been a bit difficult to play against in general?
There's been a couple very very good players that I played against. There's the two that I'd say is they both play for Columbus, who just won the MLS Cup, and that's Darlington
Yep.
Nagbe and Artur. A guy like Plaantik Interview, he's an American player, but he is so shifty that he's just such a good dribbler. He's just he's been very hard to play against. Those are the two that I'd say that I can think of off the top of my head.
Right. And on a personal, I guess, on a again more on a footballing tactical level, where do you personally prefer playing? Like where do you feel like you do amazingly well? And obviously, sometimes the coach or the manager would tell you to shift places on a spot that's more, I guess, relevant for the team. But on a
Yeah.
personal level, where do you always felt really nice and comfortable playing?
Yeah, my favorite position is to play as a number 8. Center midfielder, box to box. So I can
Wow.
do both the attacking, both the defending.
Hmm.
I like to run. I like to cover ground, so I feel like I can do that the best. But
Yeah.
I've played, a lot of different positions in my time at the Impact. I've played left
Yes.
back, right wing. I played everywhere, so it's good to be
Yeah.
versatile. But at the same
Yeah.
time, you want to get better in your position, and I think for me, that's playing as a number 8.
Right. But dude, like the biggest thing, I guess, from a personal level, is seeing yourself on FIFA. What's that like, dude? Like that's obviously, for most of us, that being professional football in itself is a dream, and then seeing yourself on FIFA is like a whole other level. Do you play much of it? Do you play with yourself on FIFA? Like
Yeah.
what do you do?
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. I mean, for me, I grew up playing FIFA. Obviously, I think the first time I was in FIFA, which was I think FIFA 17,
Mm,
that was the year when I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like, oh my gosh, what the heck? Like, it was just super super cool. I
yeah.
think the next year, the next couple of years, FIFA 18, FIFA 19, FIFA 20, you kind of get used to it. So now I'm
Yeah.
kind of over that that
That
exciting part.
initial hype.
Now,
Yeah.
yeah, now it's kind of just like whatever. But no, it's definitely cool. My friends send me like pictures sometimes where like they open up a pack and they pick and I get picked somehow. And I'm like,
Oh
all right,
wow.
that's pretty cool. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm low rated, but it's cool to be part of the game that you grew up playing. So definitely interesting.
Of course, and I'm sure in a lot of ways, once you start doing better, you see yourself kind of taking over the little numbers that you have on FIFA as well. So I think that must be rewarding as well. I'm sure.
Yeah, it's definitely cool. I think I started as like a 57 in FIFA 17, and I'm slowly making my way up to like a 62, 63 or something like that. So
Yeah, I think
I'll
you're in
take
your
it.
mid 60s from what I
Yeah.
last saw. So that's super awesome, man. Um, on a personal level, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Hopefully, a key part of the national team. Club level, I don't know. Hopefully, maybe MLS, maybe in Europe. I don't know.
Mm,
I think as long as I'm part of the national team program, then I'll be in a good club, in a good club scene. But at the same time, if things change, I can see myself playing for Bangladesh maybe if things don't turn out that way. So it's nice to
yeah,
have different options. Obviously, these five
yeah,
years are very important for me coming up because I'm hitting my prime. But they could
yes.
go out and they could turn out in so many different directions. So it's interesting to see what'll happen.
Yeah, dude. I mean, the whole idea that the whole route that Bangladesh started taking over the last 5, 6 years, and with Jamal Bhuiya, who is not, technically from Bangladesh, leading the country, has opened the doors for a lot of professionals like yourself who are outside of the country. So I'm sure there are scopes around that. But has anyone, I guess, and this part I can edit out, but has anyone contacted you from Bangladesh regarding your position, or any interest been shown in you at all?
Yeah, I mean, not directly with me, where I've talked with anybody directly involved in the Bangladesh Football Federation, but there's
Yeah,
obviously been interest just from I guess other different people that are I guess involved in the soccer scene in Bangladesh contact
yeah.
telling me. I think the federation actually did contact the club sometime last year, but I never really got a chance to speak with him because the club kind of shut it down right away. So I think there is interest, obviously, but it's just a matter of time of when's the best time to do it. But like you said, it's definitely, I've been following them the past couple of years because it's interesting to see that, you can see that it's growing there and they're starting to make progress, which is definitely good.
Have you been to Bangladesh?
Yeah, I've been 3 or 4 times.
Oh, wow.
Usually my family goes every 5 years, is what we were saying. But right now it's probably been about 7 or 8 years since I've gone, just because once I started playing professional football, it got a bit difficult. My plan was to actually go this off season, so around now. But because of COVID, it kind of ruined things. So hopefully next year I get a chance to go. We're planning. The plan is we go to Bangladesh and then we also go to Australia because I've got some family there. So it'll be a nice.
If you come to Perth, you know who to call us out.
For sure, sounds good.
Would be awesome to have a kick about if I get my ACL fixed, which is a mess. Anyway, we'll go into we'll end this out on a quick fire. So just a couple of quick fire questions. So start, Guardiola or Mourinho?
Guardiola.
Pulao or biryani?
Biryani.
Nike or Adidas?
Adidas.
Scoring a goal or providing an assist?
Providing an assist.
Okay, interesting. Henry or Bergkamp?
Henry, any day.
Fair enough. Sounds good, man. I guess this is part where we kind of slowly phase out. But who do you go for usually? Who do you go for in soccer? Who do you support?
I'm an Arsenal fan, which is pretty funny because Thierry Henry is my coach, but more so a bit late post Thierry Henry, more like 2010 onwards. But even that moment where in 2012 where he came back on loan from the Red Bulls to Arsenal, and I think his first substitute appearance he scored. That's something that I remember a lot, which is super cool.
Yeah, sounds good, man. And what's a dream club that you love to play for?
Dream club that I like to play for.
I mean, you don't have to. I know it could be a bit tricky of a question.
Yeah, I'd say Arsenal because I'm an Arsenal fan, but that's pretty typical answer. But I think honestly, for a guy who lives in North America, coming from Canada, it'd be pretty cool to play in Europe just to experience it, even anywhere in Europe. So maybe that's something that I want to do. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, dude, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate logging in. Just finally, any tips or anything for young Bangladeshis looking to go professional? Yeah,
I'd say, just stay motivated, believe in yourself. Anything is possible. And if you work hard enough, good things will come. And, hopefully opportunities arise for those of you who are trying to make it. And, all the best and work as hard as you can to get there.
Good stuff, man. Thanks for having thanks for having me. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
It's 12:30 at night. It's
definitely.
All right, dude. We'll cut it off there.
All right.
No worries, dude. I'll